and welcome to the Q&A with my lovely mother, Joanne. Thank you for all the questions that you have sent in for my mum to answer and some for me. So just to, again, do a little bit of a disclaimer that neither me or my mum are medically trained, so we can't really specifically comment on a specific person or child or medical condition. So always talk to your cardiologist or your doctor about anything. So this is just more about my mum's experience, and she's talking on behalf of my dad as well, who is camera shy.
Yeah.
So, hello mum.
Hello.
Got a drink down here. So yeah, I've got them all written down again because they were all on my phone, but I'm doing the old-fashioned way. And then you've got some questions for me as well, which I'll answer at the end. But I actually thought, Mum, it'll be really the best thing to start with how my heart condition was found.
Okay, well, it's quite a long story, so I'll try and make it short. Pregnancy went well, best pregnancy I had out of the two. You were born, bouncing, bubbling baby. A bit jaundiced, but apart from that, okay. You didn't drink very well, feed very well from your bottle. And when I got you home, it got worse, and you just slept and slept and slept. And your sister was a colicky baby, so I just thought perhaps that's how normal babies were. And I asked the midwives, and I asked the health visitors and the GP, and they said, no, that's fine, that's fine. And then at 10 days old, when you were 10 days old, I went over to your nan's with you, and we went to your great nan's to show you off. And you collapsed in my mum's arms. You just went blue and floppy. So the hospital was just up the road, so we rushed you up there. And that's where the story starts. The tale starts. And you were in intensive care in our local hospital, which is quite a cottage hospital.
We're on the Isle of Wight.
We're on an island, so and before they decided that you had quite a major heart problem, and you were whisked over the water to our main cardiac unit, paediatric cardiac unit in Southampton, and within 12 hours you were having an operation. You were christened first because you were so poorly they didn't think you were going to make it, so they advised us to christen you if that's what we wanted. And then that was the start of your cardiac history, really, your story.
Yeah. So that must have been scary.
Very scary, because I was still getting over your birth. I had a 3-year-old, Gemma, who I was worrying about as well. And with the water distance, alright, it only seems like a little trip, but it's an hour on the boat, half an hour if you go on the faster, fast cats. But it's still that water cuts you off from your family, from your other children or child. And you're going around in a daze, basically, because you can't comprehend it. It's so massive what's going on.
And what was I diagnosed with?
So you had coarctations, which is narrowings of the aorta and the pulmonary, and you had multiple VSDs, which are holes in the heart. That was your major.
No, probably bound when I
You've only got, it's not been developed right, so instead of the 3 sections, you've got 2 sections. Yeah. You had two major ops at 10 days, well, you were about 2 weeks old then. Then eventually you were brought home, and you were quite a sickly baby, and you had another major op at 3. Which you didn't cope well with. We were told you weren't going to make it. You were in intensive care for a long time. You had septicemia, pneumonia. But I said, no, my girl's going to fight through, and she did. and then you had the later one when you were 12, which you actually sailed through that one.
Yeah. So
through all the other ops, it was all touch and go, but that last op, you sailed through.
So we'll go to the really questions from you.
Okay.
So what was the biggest challenge mentally raising a child with a heart condition?
Oh, good. constant worry. I think first of all was the guilt. I really felt it was my fault that you were born with heart problems. What did I eat? What did I drink? What did I do through the pregnancy? Because my other child was healthy, so why you? It wasn't really in the family. There was no history of it, so it obviously was me, the mum, who carried you, you know, through pregnancy. I must have done something wrong. But then I think that's always in the back of your mind. But then when you speak to people that, you know, they did the best thing through their pregnancy, they still had a heart child. So, you know, I don't think you can beat yourself up over that eventually. But that was my first initial hard thing to get over. And worry, just constant worry, not just worry about you and your health, worry about your sister. Is she being looked after when I'm with you? Is she mentally bonding and things like that with me? Because she was with my mum and dad a lot when you were in hospital. A little bit of jealousy I had about the bonding that Gemma had with my mum, and but you know, you just have to let that go. Being the best wife, being the best mum, being the best daughter. And then I just thought, I can't keep that level up. I've just got to get through this. We have to get through this as a family and do the best we can. And just hope there's no manual. There's no manual when you have children, and then there's no manual when you have a heart child. So you've just got to think what's right for you and your family, because every family is different, every unit's different, and you have to do what's best for you at the time. And it's a hard time to go through. And I always remember someone came up to me and said to me, these children with problems, health problems, are born to special families who can cope and deal with them. And that's always stayed with me, even though I never felt that way. No. I just think that's a nice thing to think about, that you were given to us because we did have the resources to get through it.
Yeah, that's nice. If you, well, you kind of covered that, we can go a bit more. If you have other children, which you do, my sister Gemma, how did you balance?
It's really difficult because,
and where the hospital is so far away, and a lot of the families that I speak to, especially in America, like the hospitals could be like 3 hours away.
Yeah.
So that's
yeah.
And I do have siblings. So how do you manage that?
I think you have to, when you have the opportunity to give the sibling time, give them time. I mean, I think looking back, we probably did it a bit wrong. You know, our thought was like, right, Gemma's come over to the hospital to see you with my mum. My idea was, right, there's a toy shop nearby. Let's go and get you a nice toy, Gem. Let's do it that way. When actually she needed my time. She needed our time, not just mine. My husband, you know, your dad's time as well. Time with you. And it must be really unsettling for her. And I speak to her about it now, and she said, yes, it was unsettling, and yes, perhaps sometimes I was jealous of yours and Sam's relationship because, you know, you were always together. But she said, the nice side of it is I've built up a really strong relationship with my nan and granddad, which I might not have had. And me and Gemma are really close as well. So we couldn't have done too bad a job. And I just think, you know, you just, like I say, you just got to go with your guts. I mean, the one time I did, when you were in Southampton Hospital for a long time, and I thought, I've got to get back and spend some time with Gemma. You know, she was only, I think, 5 at that time. So I had to come back. No, it must have been when you were first there. So she must have been 3. So you'd been in there for 2 weeks, and I thought, you'd had your op, you'd stabilised. Right, I need to go and spend some time with her for one night just to get it. And when I came back early the next morning to the hospital, one of the mums said, all Sammy did was cry and scream all night. And I felt like the worst mother ever. And I never left you alone in hospital again from that, because I actually knew that Gemma, if I left her, she wasn't screaming and crying. She was with my mum and she felt secure, or with her dad and she felt secure. So yeah, you just have to do the best that you feel you're doing. You know, don't beat yourself up.
There's no wrong answer.
No, there isn't. No, there isn't.
Okay, when did you feel comfortable letting go a little bit, as in not worrying so much about spending the night at friends, etc.?
As friends, I mean, my mum, you used to stay with my mum from quite a young age, but she was a nurse, so that sort of helped. And also, when she felt like she was happy to have you overnight, and we would never go too far, and I always told her to ring as soon as she was worried. And I think with your friends, we had quite a close knit of friends that were our friends, and their children were your friends. And it was only when the mum asked me if you could stay, I felt that she was comfy with having you. So I don't think there was, I can't sort of remember a particular age that I felt that you were.
Probably after my last op. I remember staying at one friend's before the op, who lived down the road, and obviously her mum was a nurse, so it probably helped. And you were really good friends with her. But I don't really remember staying at anyone.
No, I think everybody stayed at ours.
Yeah.
It was like a big.
She was literally walking distance from us.
Yeah, she was. I think I did more that everyone came to ours and stayed. It was always full of children, our house. And sleepovers and things.
When did you stop worrying with every little illness?
Do you ever stop worrying as a mum, whatever age? I don't think you do. Oh, that's a difficult one. I was just trying to remember back. I think definitely you need a good rapport with the ward that you had all your ops on, the specialists. They have support nurses which you can ring, your GP, a local support group is really good, friends, and I think the more you took it, say you had a cough, is that a normal cough? Is that a cardiac cough? Are you getting pneumonia? And then it builds up and up and up and in your head. I just think as you got older, you just relax and you get to know what you usually, your symptoms, your cardiac symptoms are. And my GP always said, mother instincts are the best. If you come in to see me and you say your child's not right, he said, I will listen to you because you know your child best. And you're much more qualified with your child's cardiac condition than he was as a GP.
Yeah.
So that was always good, and I think that sort of makes you go, okay. And then I'll bounce off your dad, and he was a bit more level-headed anyway. Well, let's just wait and see. Let's just see how it goes. Let's not.
Yeah.
But I think we've transferred that a little bit of the health worries to you.
I think that's probably very common in CHD children to grow up with anxieties about their own health. I think it was good actually because obviously you were with me with every consultation until I got married, when it was passed over to Tom.
Yeah.
But you're always there on the phone, or
well that's
you
it.
can always come for the shopping.
Yeah.
They've got good. My ward has very good nurses I can always call or email if any problems. So.
And I think people have to remember to use that with those resources because.
Which I do.
Yeah, because otherwise, if you sit at home and just keep thinking and don't verbalise it or speak to people that know best, it just gets worse and worse in your head.
Definitely. How did you navigate the moving out of home stage? I was quite a late one going though.
You were, yeah. We were ready.
And they're about 22.
Well, you did it quite gently, didn't you?
Yeah.
You used to stay over at Tom's, and then you stayed down, and his flat was down the road, and then you moved in there, and we're all close, aren't we, as family? So, but then you decided to move to the mainland, which was a big step.
Island.
Yeah, off the island, which was a big step for me. It was like, oh. So in the end, it's cutting those apron strings, and also I suppose I had to look at it that you doing that, you know, when I think about it back as you as a child and a baby, we never thought that you were going to have that future.
No.
So for you to be able to go off and do what you want independently, our job was done.
Yeah.
And we love Tom dearly, so that helped. You know, you weren't that many miles away from us,
No.
which helps as
Just
well. And then I threw myself into getting the degree.
Exactly.
So it was a bit of time for me. But then she decided to follow me in the degree. So you were still. I probably saw more of you then,
Yeah.
because we were studying together.
But I guess it's quite a bit of a different story for me, because after my last op, I've been quite stable since,
Yeah.
haven't I? So
Yeah.
it's not like I've still got. I mean, I've always got a heart problem, but it's not like a unstable condition right now. At what age did you stop stressing constantly over what might be going on with her heart?
I think probably after your last op, Sammy came out quite stable. It was, you know, she'd had this major heart operation, and you were in hospital for a week.
Yeah, and that one was to cut out the narrowing of the aorta, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
to cut.
Because they tried to balloon it,
Yeah,
and they failed.
yeah. And you had the narrowing right on the arch, so that's hard to balloon, and it was quite a big narrowing. So they cut it out, joined it together.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing op. I mean, these men and women that do this sort of surgery, and aftercare, before care, whatever, they're gods in my eyes. They're amazing, amazing people, and should be paid a lot more. And you know, we just can't thank them enough.
Yeah.
But going back to the question, yeah, I think we suddenly realised that you were starting to bloom. And I know you always had a problem with your weight, and that didn't really change after that either. You still suffered a lot with trying to gain weight and things, and that didn't help with your self-esteem, did it? But then when you met Tom, your life sort of changed a bit with the bodybuilding and nutrition and things, and we even worried about that. Actually, I must say, we did worry about when you started doing the weightlifting, and your doctors were saying you shouldn't be lifting this, and you weren't really going to listen to them. But we eventually persuaded you. That did cause a few sleepless nights. And how old were you then? You know, so it doesn't. It doesn't.
20.
doesn't end. But then I think it never will. You know, I think whenever there's a major illness in your life, we will go. Is that her heart?
Yeah.
Oh no, it's not. That's okay then.
I guess when I was pregnant as well, it was.
Oh yeah,
Is her heart going to cope? Is the baby going to be okay?
Yeah, because we were always told that you couldn't have children, and then suddenly they changed that ballpark. I suppose different technologies and things and everything. So yeah, that was a big strain, a big worry, not a strain, but it was always in the back of my mind. But you sailed through that, didn't you? So, you know.
I will do. I'll do a separate video on my pregnancy and birth story. When did you pass the responsibility over to me to watch out for any signs and symptoms that something might be wrong? I think that's a gradual thing, isn't it? As you grow, because I grew to understand my body more, and I probably maybe didn't ask you as much. No, I still ask you all the time.
Yeah, I think it probably after your last op, when you actually felt better,
you
came off the meds, you started taking a little bit more control. I mean, some days it was like constant, I've got this, I've got that, what's this, do you think that? But then that's part of you learning to take control, isn't it? And me trying to reassurance is a big thing.
And I guess you teaching me what's normal and what's not normal.
I mean, it was only when you left home, and the hardest thing for me with Sammy was when she rang me up and she said, "Oh, I've got my cardiac checkup next week." I went, "Oh, have you? Okay. What time is it? I'll make sure I've got the day off and I can come home." "Well, no, Mum. Tom would like to come to this one." And it was like, excuse me, someone else taking over my role. That was actually probably harder than you moving out. It was like I was always in control, had all your meds,
and I always relied on you.
Big time.
I never knew really what my heart problem was. So I was like, "Oh, ask my mum. Ask my mum. I don't know. I don't know." So I had to learn.
And I kept saying to you, "You really need to take control of this."
I needed to learn what was actually wrong with me. I was like, I don't know, I had a narrowing somewhere and they stitched me up somewhere and I don't know. And now I'm alright.
Yeah. So, what was the question? Sorry.
When did you pass the responsibility over for signs and symptoms that something might be wrong?
So probably after your last op, when you were 12, so you're starting to develop and mature, and I think you need to have some control in your own body and your own treatments and things, and you could ask that if you had a question to ask when we went to appointments, you would ask it, and I think that's.
And I think that at the time I didn't like it, but when I moved to the adult ward from the children's for the reviews, they would say, "Oh, okay, Sammy, you come in for the first 5-10 minutes, and then your mum can come in." I was like, but it was actually probably a good thing.
Yeah, so that's when I think that the consultants in that area know that there is a transition, and there has to be, because it was there's different sections of the adult, isn't there? There's the younger, the teenage heart patients.
But it helps that I've had the same consultant from birth to now. Still have him. So that helps.
Definitely.
And even drew my husband a diagram to show what's wrong.
They like their diagrams as consultants.
Because I like him. Did you go on to have other children? If not, why?
No, I didn't, because we had Gemma, and I think, to be honest, we would only have had 2 anyway. There was never a discussion about having a third one, and I was told that if I had another child, the percentage of having a child with heart problems had risen. So we chose personally not to, but like I said, I don't think we would have had any more anyway, because 2 was probably our number. I do know I have got friends in what we call the heart circle, that have gone on and had children with, and they've been absolutely fine and healthy.
What is it? What they call me? A mutation of genes.
Yes, mutation of genes. And even the consultant said it was nothing I did, but you could still beat yourself up over it.
Yeah. And do your other children have CHD?
No. No.
Did Sammy ever get picked on for having a scar? If so, how did you deal with it?
I don't think she ever got picked on for the actual scar.
Got picked on for everything else.
I think you got picked on for being ginger and pale and slim.
Glasses.
I don't think it was horrendous. I think you said to me, you said to me that you got picked on.
Yeah, but I think everyone gets picked on. But I had such a good circle of friends that.
Yeah. I think what I did, I hoped I did, I brought you up being proud of your scar. And I think it's really good now, because you can get dolls, you can buy dolls and things that have got like the zip scar and everything. And you had the story, didn't you, that you used to tell people if they asked what it was, that you'd been surfing and tapped by a shark, wherever that came from. She never surfed in her life. So I think it we used to get you bio oil to rub into it, so that I think that's a good thing. A big thing is the sensation of feeling it, and just endorsing that this scar makes you special.
Yeah.
You know,
And strong.
and strong. It's a warrior.
Yeah, something to be proud of.
Yeah.
I think it's different nowadays because we didn't have like social media back then.
No.
So bullying wasn't really,
No.
you know, you just get, look at you over there. You know, it's different now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you feel about your scar? Let's go back to it.
I remember after my last operation when the nurse took off the bandage, because I was always used to the scar being quite faded and stuff, and just seeing this like red fresh cut down my chest and just being like, put the bandage back on, put it back on, put it back on, and like freaking out. I don't know if you were there with that.
Yeah.
You probably would have been, wouldn't you?
I stuck to your side.
Do you remember me freaking out?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it did take me a while, didn't it? And I don't think it helped with being slim. I had a lot of scar tissue at the bottom, didn't I? That looked like ribs. And I did have, how old was I? I must have been about 15, 16.
I think you were 16. I don't think you were under 16.
No, that we went and had reconstruction
Yeah.
surgery just on the bottom bit to get rid of that fatty tissue. And I don't think it did take me, I can't think of a point where I was like, oh, actually, I like my scar. But I do now.
Good.
And I actually regret using bio oil on it because I wish it was more prominent.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I want it more. Because you can't really see it,
No.
really. But people don't really realise. But, yeah. Don't come back. So that's all the questions for you.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
Because as a mother of a heart child, heart adult, as Sammy is now, there's times through which are quite emotional, especially when you're in hospital before the ops. You know, that is the big time. That the hardest time is handing your baby over to that surgeon and letting go. And there was one time, it was her last op, and I don't know if you remember this situation, that because you were 12.
That's why I went into the, I remember that. And you know what, I was going to ask you about that because I was like, did I dream going in to have all like what could go wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had to, usually it's us, the parents, that have to sign all the forms and things, and they go through what could go wrong. But because Sammy was 12, they have to legally go through with you, which was very scary for Sammy. And I personally think she was too young to know all that information. Just the night before she was going in for the op, and you were allowed a light dinner the night before, so we went into the communal kitchen, and just me and you were in there actually, and we were sat at the table and you were having a bit of a bit of a strop. It's like, Jesus, I can't go with this. And then at the end of when this strop was sort of, you were obviously worried. That's what it was, and it was coming out like you just couldn't cope, and your mind was blown. You said to me, "If you loved me, if you loved me, you would not put me through this op." Oh my God! It was like a dagger to my own heart. It was, and I had to say to you, it's because I love you that I have to let you have this op. I have to put you through this op.
I'm sorry.
But it wasn't. It was just what a kid would say because you were scared. But it was so hard. And there will be those times when you feel the worst mother for taking them in for cardiac catheters, for blood tests, for operations. But you know you're doing it for them to be as well as you are now. Without that last op, you wouldn't have been.
No.
But I could have quite easily said, right, let's pack our bags and go. But I knew I had to do it. We got through it the best that we could, and I think we did well.
Yeah.
We did well, and you're all doing well. You're doing good. So carry on, and just believe in your instincts, okay? And you're doing good.
Good. And another thing we can touch upon is that I actually went to play therapy, didn't I?
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah, which was, you probably remember more. I remember like just playing in a sandpit.
Yeah, I think it's you were having a lot of night terrors.
That's just before my last
yeah,
stop, wasn't it?
Yeah, you were getting a lot of nightmares, night terrors when they're younger, and also I think at school we used to constantly have phone call because
I played on it a bit really at school.
Yeah, and also the school's like heart problems, right? Anything wrong, mum. So you know, constantly I was trying to work at this time as well, which luckily I worked for our local health services, so they were quite understanding. So yeah, so they would send you home.
So you play therapy.
So yeah, so you sort of, I don't know, you played on it a little bit, like you said.
Remember.
Yeah.
I used to be able to be like, my finger hurts, and I'm like, do we need to call your mum?
But I also think that this is where the health anxiety kicked in as well, and I think the play therapy did help you. Did help you.
I liked going. I remember I liked going.
And then it stopped, and you got quite upset. But then you know you had the op, and you felt so much better. So, yeah.
Okay, it's just a few questions for me. Were you ever paranoid about your scar? Because I've kind of touched on that, and then had the surgery to correct that. But I don't think I ever paranoid.
In fact, you've helped some other children, haven't you? Friends of ours that have had heart children. Because you do become quite involved with other heart family. I mean, I started up a local support group on the island, didn't I? And that helped me a lot. I'm not saying that you should go out and start, because it's not for everyone, but it helped me.
Maybe if you can find one.
So you helped actually through about your scar, the way you felt with your scar, with other children that were having a bit of difficulty feeling comfortable with it.
Yeah, and I think I also grew up with a friend, didn't I, who literally had the same heart problem as me.
Yeah.
You know, that was quite nice having someone to bounce off and be like, oh look, we both have that scar.
I think that was my biggest saviour actually. My health visitor, when you were born, knew of this other family that she had on her books that had a heart child who was a few months older than you. And she got us in touch, and we became really good friends, and we got each other through. And that's when, if you were ill or your friend was ill, would ring each other up and say, is this normal?
It's actually quite scary how common heart problems are.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe that there's a ward in Southampton General just for cardiac paediatrics. It was mind blowing.
So common. What's the best way to get my child to feel proud and not embarrassed? I think you just got to give them time to come to terms with it, and I think growing up anyway is really hard, and then you've got this scar to deal with, and especially like it's okay for me because I've always had a scar from like 10 days old, really, haven't I? So I've grown up with it, but there are a lot of people and a lot of adults who have a heart surgery later, so they've grown up not having a scar, and then they have to, you know, deal with having a scar. I think it just takes time not to rush it.
I think also what we haven't touched on is normality for a child, a heart child. Let them do some normal things. Don't wrap them in cotton wool.
That's probably a hard.
Yeah, you know, when they're toddlers, let them run around with just their bikini bottoms on if they're a girl, or a trunks or whatever, and let them show that scar off. But with everything in life, try and have, especially if you've had another child, you would let them run along the grass. Don't wrap them in cotton wool. Let them be as normal. Have a normal child life as possible.
Is your son heart healthy? Yes, thank goodness. And did you have additional checks for his heart? Again, I'll do another video on my pregnancy and birth, but we had lots of scans, which is brilliant. You didn't really have that when you were pregnant, did you?
No, I mean, now they would have picked up what you had.
Definitely.
Actually, they did there was another family from the island straight after us who we became friends with, and they hadn't been picked up either. So I think a lot of things were changed within our local hospital. I think perhaps if we were on the mainland, it might have been picked up because technology was a bit more over there. But
apparently, I had quite a murmur when I
yes,
was a baby, which wasn't picked up.
No.
We live and we learn.
Yes, we won't go there.
How often do I go for checkups? It's yearly.
Yeah.
I think they've changed it to. I think they're going to change it to 2 years.
Yearly, yeah.
Soon.
Which I think for you then makes life normal. It's not. So, it's not all about hospital appointments and that worry about is this scan going to, and things. So
I had my yearly review Friday, 2 days ago, but because of coronavirus, it was done by telephone, and that was very simple. How are you feeling? Fine, cool. See you next year. Is travel insurance hard to get? Was it when I was growing up? Because we were quite lucky. We went to like Florida.
Yeah, no, at the time we didn't have any problems back then.
Which is surprising, really, isn't it? Because especially before my last operation.
Yeah, I think we've had more problems getting your medication through custom because you were on powdered. First of all, it was all powdered and they put it in individual little sachets, like rolled sachets. So, and we'd have like a bag full of this white powder in these little homemade sachets that our pharmacist was done. And it was like, I had to get a GP's letter in the end saying, yeah, this isn't dodgy, this is what she needs.
And travel insurance now, no difficulties. Get my travel insurance through my bank. So.
Yeah, I think they're quite open now, aren't they?
And then, is a mortgage hard to get? Personally, I have found it very hard to get life insurance. So we still got a mortgage because obviously my husband's the main earner, but I can't get life insurance or anything. No, that's really hard.
Yeah.
Even though I'm stable. No. They're like.
Would they not give you insurance without the heart if they just take the heart thing off?
I don't know actually. I've never tried. I was like,
I
just kind of gave up. I was like, yeah, I'll be fine. But I know that some charities do have, like British Heart Foundation. I think you can get help if you do need travel insurance or life insurance or mortgages. Because every heart condition is different.
It is, yeah.
Well, this was fun. Don't know if you want anything else to say.
No, I've enjoyed it, and any more questions in the future, please feel free to.
Yeah, just shoot us a message,
and I'll try and answer it. But yeah, I think the main thing is that you're doing a good job. Listen to your instincts, and enjoy their childhood. As much as you can, because they soon grow up and then make me a grandmother, which I love.
Well, thank you very much for joining, and we will see you soon.
Bye.